Tonight is February 3rd, 2021, here in Akron, Ohio at the PolymerCityRecords studio. I'm Seth.
I'm Chris.
This is 10 Cent Beer Night, the sports show on PolymerCityRecords.com every Wednesday from 7:30 to 9:30 Eastern Time p.m. And we are at the final 10 Cent Beer Night of the NFL season this weekend. We'll talk more about the Super Bowl a little bit later. We're going to keep the people waiting and guessing on that one. Let's talk Cavaliers real quick. Cavs, since we last talked, had an iffy week. Just some injuries, some issues there. They were able to pull out a win Monday. They should have pulled out a win Sunday. Monday was interesting because they sat Andre Drummond sat. Larry Nance sat because of the wrist. Kevin Love's not quite back yet. So it was the young guys came in, took control, and won the game for them. It was big. Here's a little picture out of the Akron Beacon Journal here of Jared Allen. And blocking, let's see, who is it? Malika Beasley, a very young Timberwolves team there, who's only won 5 games, including beating the Cavs on Sunday night in Minnesota there. Tonight they have a challenge. They're in Cleveland. They play the LA Clippers, who are the second best team in the West. Top five team for sure. What do they got to do to win tonight?
Defense.
Defense, yes.
That's what they've been lacking the last couple games here.
Which hasn't been the story all year for the record.
But they've started at 4-5-0, or something like that. Started out 4-0 or something.
Yeah.
Playing excellent, swinging the ball around, excellent transition, playing excellent defense. It just seems like they hit a brick wall, and they start just getting away from the little things that they were doing. And now we're starting to see that with the New York loss last Friday. It was a very sloppy game. Defense was just off, and New York pretty much just took control of that game. Then the Timberwolves same way. 15 turnovers in the Timberwolves game, I believe. Something like that. And just the defense transition was pretty bad. And then it was a little better the other night when they played Timberwolves again. Was it Monday?
Yes, Monday.
It's a little better, but I still see, of course, Larry Nance not in there. He's hurt. And of course, you got still some guys hurt, but pretty much most of the team's back though.
Right.
That's the thing where you have to think now. They're pretty much a healthy team, other than Love, and Deli's still out, of course.
Yeah, something. I don't know what his deal is.
Some serious concussion, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then they don't help with Larry Nance, the rest being out. But they need to start playing some better defense. Yeah, they're young, but I'm to a point where now I think they're a playoff team. So I might just quit saying they're a young team and say they need to start winning these games that they're in. They start winning these games, and so like tonight's gonna be a battle. I know that. They gotta play defense. They gotta swing that ball around. They gotta get some guys open. Gotta make some big shots. If they don't do any of that, it'll be a long game.
I haven't looked at the injury report. I am assuming Andre Drummond will be back tonight after missing Monday's game. Makes sense back to back. He was a little sore, beat up after Sunday's game. I would say better shot selections too. They made some stupid shots there. So a lot of good, especially Monday. Darius Garland was setting up players, specifically Jared Allen, very well. They looked really sharp on that, and I think that was the first game this year I could look and say the young guys came out and took over the game and won it. They had no choice. Yeah, and I think Prince is the oldest guy out there when they have them all like there on Monday. But I don't know if Nance is coming back tonight. Love is getting there. Yeah. Something I want to bring to the table. There was an interesting conversation. I don't know if you read the article that came out this morning. Last night, Love was on a podcast. It's full of former Cleveland Cavaliers. Richard Jefferson, Channing Frye, both who were at the championship. And the third host is Allie Clifton.
Oh, the road trip?
Sideline reporter of... Who used to be with the Cavaliers. And I always said, for the record, I said years ago, before LeBron came back, before we got our championship, Allie Clifton should have had her own show on basketball at some point. She is extremely knowledgeable at that. I'm glad she's getting a shot now, even with these guys there. Well, Kevin Love was interviewed. They're asking how his calf is healing up, when he'll be back, and he'll say soon. But he he made a very interesting comment. Of course, they asked about the trade rumors and all that. He goes, "I've heard this for the past couple of years. It's just part of the business." He kind of pushed it aside. The one comment that struck me, and it made me wonder if there's something going on in the heads of the I should say the team, not the front office. We know the story of Kevin Porter, okay? But when Kevin Love came out and they said, how did the Kevin Porter trade affect the team? And he said right away, because he said, you looked at going into the season, and Kevin Porter was the best player on the team. He said that. Wow. Over himself, over Larry Nance, over Andre Drummond. He called Porter a Russell Westbrook that's left-handed, basically. And obviously, Cavs, they had to make a move. I don't blame them for making a move. I mean, it was a very tough decision. They put anything they needed to do for him, they did do. Right. Porter, the latest update is he's going to start in the G League. He's going to be down in Orlando with not with our can in charge, but with the can in charge and other teams and whoever helps support the Houston Rockets. That's where he's at now. It makes you wonder a bit if this is going to be one of those stories where either it comes back and bites the Cavs. Again, I don't blame him for trading him. Like what needed to be done needed to be done, but it also makes you kind of wonder too if this is also going to be a story of a player that shoulda, woulda, coulda, and he just doesn't. He lets his emotions get the best of him, But I found that comment very interesting, especially from Kevin Love, who knows basketball well, knows basketball players, but to hear him say, "This guy was the best guy on the team going into the season," that's a big compliment. So that's.
I believe it is. It is hurting him compared to what you seen last year. Porter was out there. To this year, I believe it is hurting him a little bit, but not as much, but a little bit. But last year, he was, from what games they played, he was, fun to watch.
Well, I mentioned it was a week or two ago on this show, an Eastern Conference scout came up and said something along the lines of, they said they're not going to come out in a minute, but this hurts them so bad. They were deeply invested into him. He was part of the long-term plan, and now they had to trade him for obvious reasons, Looking ahead of what Altman has done as far as the drafts go and everything, he gets Colin Sexton. That was a hit at the time, you know what I mean? Darius Garland's starting to show why they picked him, you know. Windler, he's playing a little more. I mean, we haven't seen enough to make that call, but that's the thing people got to understand, too, is they traded. Porter was already drafted. Again, teams waited because, again, there was that personal issue that was coming into play when drafting Porter. So he trades for him late, and then this past draft he gets Okoro. So he does have 4 out of 5 of his picks still. They're still developing. And so far, they're working well with each other. The only one, unfortunately, Okoro, the rookie, has seen more playing time than Windler at this time. So that's
a lot of that's injuries related too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. But Okoro is the most played rookie in the season so far, and that's impressive with itself. And he's getting the hang of it. Defensively he's doing well. Offensively, and they knew drafting him that it was going to take time, and it might be something that carries on more to next year with Okoro. Similar to like Larry Nance, we've watched him grow and everything. When he was drafted, he was a super athletic defensive freak. He could throw it down and lay up well inside in the offense, but he wasn't a stretch 4. Now the Cavs worked with him because he was with the Lakers first. Now they've worked with him and helped produce him into a stretch 4 type player. So it's going to take a bit before Okoro gets his offensive intangibles set. But this is a big test tonight. Right. This is a big test coming up. And the rest of the schedule looking forward, I'm going by memory here. They got the Clippers tonight. They got the Bucks back-to-back Friday and Saturday in Cleveland. And then they head out West Coast with the Suns, with the Clippers. Yep. I think the Warriors are in that mix somewhere too.
All playing good.
It's maybe the Mavericks is the team up there. But
Warriors' record might not show the way they're playing, but they're still.
Steph Curry went off again last night.
Still,
if the Cavs want to keep the playoff talk going, this is the set of games they have to show up here. If they come out 500, I'll say that's good enough. with this team and where they're at, I'll say that should be the worst case scenario to get like a thumbs up, to get a great get a good grade there. If they walk away with 2 wins out of this, they're you could see moves being made.
But the thing about the Cavs though is they get up for these big games like tonight. I'm sure they will get pumped up for the Clippers. And they get up for these big, like the Nets they got up for. They got up for them, the Lakers. I mean, they get up for these big name teams with big name players. So I think they'll play well, but how will they play to win? I don't know. I think they'll play well enough to be in the game. Well, for the most part.
The other thing too I want to point out is the Clippers' defense is always kind of iffy. They know Ty Lue's style. They know it's heavily more offense than defense. Clippers' defense was horrid. We were talking about the Cavs' defense being great the first couple games. Theirs was they lost by 56 against one. Forget maybe the Nets. I forget somebody they lost to 50.
That was earlier in the season.
It was bad, and it made you wonder if Ty Lue was still going to have a job after 2 weeks. Like here we go again, a couple years ago in Cleveland here, but in his defense too, he's also credited with the first Cleveland championship in over 50 years. So I'm glad to see Ty Lue get a second shot here tonight. I don't hope the best for him. No offense, but that's just how it goes.
Cleveland.
Yeah, exactly. This
is head coach. So
as a head coach, he's been here as a assistant under Doc Rivers before. Now Doc's in Philly, and now Ty Lue gets promoted to head coach there with the Clippers there. So yeah, as far as the Cavs go, it's just trying to deal with the injuries right now. It looks like Kevin Love could make the West Coast trip. We'll see again. Hopefully Larry Nance gets back soon. It's just that shooting risk. That's the issue. And again, that's his main hand to go up to block shots and everything. And it's they really need him back there. He's such a force, especially while Love is hurt. Thankfully, they made that trade where you could put Prince at power forward there, or maybe even dabble with Jared Allen at power forward and Andre Drummond at center, since you have JaVale McGee available at this time. Just change it up a bit. I know the team's going to probably look different a month down the road, referring to the trade deadline and whatnot. But right now, this is the position you have, and you got to just make the best of it.
Yeah, I think they'll be all right. Just get back to what they been doing the regular, the beginning of the season. Get back to that style of basketball. They'll be all right. Keeping these games close games. Don't let them get out of hand. They always got a shot. Seems like these close games they're in, they always have a shot to win.
Right.
It's so. The Monday night's game was close pretty much all the way through.
Right. And that was a Timberwolves team just trying to improve and just play without their superstar Karl Anthony Towns is with COVID, so he doesn't. Yeah. He wasn't out there to help him out.
The rookie, man, he's unbelievable.
He's
fun to
good.
Watch.
I was
fun to watch.
Sold on him from the beginning. I know people said this draft class was questionable of how much depth. This draft class, and I said this before. And again, we'll find out years down the road. We won't know now. I said this draft class could come out to be like the 2011 draft class, where going in, Kyrie Irving was the guy. They were like, this guy, and everybody after him, and they wrote it off. They said how weak it was. Now here we are. Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler, Klay Thompson, Kemba Walker. Unfortunately, I can't think of the second overall pick was Derek Williams. He played for the Cavs for a brief time. They thought he was going to be a big deal. It turned out to be a Timberwolves bust. That now you know why they're here right now. Enes Kanter, didn't turn out like they thought he would. Tristan Thompson, solid. Probably not fourth pick overall, but solid. Giannis Valanciunas, again, solid. Probably not fifth overall looking back. If there was a redo in the draft, you would see certain things shake up. But overall, a solid draft. And you look at this one. Edwards, I knew off the bat. I was watching this guy in college. I said, this guy's going to be very, very good. So if you get the first pick over, I was telling Cavs fans, they're like, well, we have Kevin Porter at the time. We have Sexton Garden. I said, no, if you get the first pick overall, you pick Edwards. You don't
Right.
think about it. You don't. You just you get him. I think Ball is better than his brother.
Yeah, he's sure.
Monson,
Yeah,
but yeah,
he's sure enough to be
he's looking good
pretty
there.
good. Yeah.
Weissman will be very good. I feel just after he gets his feet wet a little bit more, and
Mhm.
he's a little banged up right now. But once he gets in that groove, he'll be all right. We have Okoro as a top 5 pick. We have I think another Williams right before him. I'm trying to go by memory here. So again, we'll see, but there's a lot of potential, if not superstar, serious role players involved in this draft for the next few years. But that's what I told him. It's like there's people that weren't sure if there was ever a superstar coming out of this. I said, no, you gotta watch Edwards play. You know, and next year's is the next couple of years. They're saying it's going to be special drafts, all in all. So we're going to have some pretty good NBA seasons coming up in the future too. We brought up Akron star athlete Chris Livingston. He is still averaging 30-some points a game. They pulled off a big win the other night. But I'm trying to go by memory here, and I can't. Let me look it up. And he scored. He dropped another 30.
I know they played Cleveland Heights. I'm not sure how long ago was that.
Let me see. That was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, remember he's only a junior too. That's the crazy thing about it. He's only a junior.
They beat number 2 Lutheran East.
Oh, okay.
That's who they beat 88 to 82. He had 30 points there. I wanted to bring up real quick. There was a great article on. He wasn't the only one. Here it is. It lists you some more players here. East standout Chris Peoples, triple-double machine, 15.7 rebounds and 9.7 assists. That's his average, by the way. That's Chris Peoples there. Yeah, the scoring leaders in the area. And again, this isn't completely updated. This is just more recent. You have Chris Livingston, 31.6 average. Trent, I'm going to say this the best I can. Kaki from Crestwood, 31.5. Elmore James, heard of a lot of great stuff about him from Brush. He's averaging 30. Daryl Houston from Beechwood, he's averaging 30. A guy from, we were bringing up Larry Nance Jr., somebody from his block there from Revere. Jimmy Salamone, I've heard some good stuff about him, 27.6 points a game. So, yeah, in Akron alone, you have 5-6 kids that are averaging almost 30 a game. That's of course Livingston's on top of there, just tearing it up. And he grew too. Like a lot of guys a lot of scouts had him as point guard or shooting guard, 6 at the time, 6'2", 4-star at the time. He's now 6'6", and he's more small forward. They're putting him down for. Again, mentioned he's got a couple offers there. Again, though, if things change in the NBA between now and then, you never know. But it's just interesting that Akron's become a, what's that term they use there? Melting pot.
Yeah.
For future ballers. Of course, LeBron James, Nate Thurman's from around here. Let me make sure.
You got me stumped on that, but you got half of the Fab Five guys they could have.
Yeah, Nate Thurman.
A lot of Fab Five guys with LeBron. You know, a lot of them guys they went overseas.
Right.
But a lot of them could have been a potential too for NBA, but they took overseas route instead of.
Right, Drew Joyce,
and all.
Romeo Travis,
route,
and
so.
that
was a big class too of guys coming out of college and going.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it was a great class. One guy that didn't grow up here but was born here was Steph Curry. People know that story. Nate Thurman, he played for both the Cavs and the Warriors, and he's no longer with us. But that's a Hall of Famer right there too. I think there should be a statue somewhere of Nate Thurman. I mean, we're going to have a LeBron one. We know that. Well, we should have a Nate Thurman statue at one of these parks here. That's what I think. Maybe get a petition about that somewhere. But just a lot of great talent coming out there. And specifically Akron, not Cleveland. Nothing against Cleveland. We have a lot of great talent from Cleveland too. Not Columbus. This is specifically Akron.
Yeah.
So, no, it's a beautiful thing. LeBron James Jr. played a lot of ball here too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
he's in LA now, but he played alongside Chris at some camps and everything like that. So he's got some Akron in him too as well, and he's another guy. He's not growing like Chris, but they're thinking he's gonna be more of a point guard than his dad, who was small.
Right.
Now his dad can play point. We all know that,
Yeah.
but he would be. But Bronny James will be probably more of a pure point guard than a small forward like his dad was. Somewhere down the line. Of course, there's no doubt he's taken lessons from Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul.
Oh, yeah.
So you can imagine.
Oh,
I'm just assuming at this point. I don't know the family personally, but LeBron's friends probably have put their 2 cents somewhere there.
Mm-hmm.
As much as LeBron James himself has. If the kid decides to come out and play professionally, I mean that's the assumption. But I mean you never know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaking about LeBron, if you probably a lot going. I'm sure hit the news, but the little altercation with the fan.
Yeah, that was something. That was different.
I think you're going to see a lot more of that. Well, there's been a couple games already with LeBron played. Fans are yelling out stuff because you can hear.
That's the thing. You can hear it. Yeah.
So these athletes are hearing these fans now. Therefore,
they're starting to learn to hate the fans. Is what's going on here.
So but you're gonna.
That's going to force the NBA to be like, okay, as long as you test negative, you can come in.
But I was shocked though Atlanta let their fans that close to the court though. They're actually on the court.
Yeah, because with the Cavs, they're not really doing that.
No.
Yeah. With the Cavs,
I was pretty shocked about that. I was like, but I think they're kind of too close, especially with all this craziness going on. To the athletes. But it's pretty interesting.
Who has the money
the
to be paying for those seats? That's
right.
That's what I'm thinking there. Which is up for and I know people they have different opinions and whatnot, and
I think you're gonna see us a lot more, especially. I'm not saying with LeBron, but just a lot more. Won't be surprised if we hear a lot more fans saying this and that, and players getting to them.
Well, we had one guy at the Cavs game. He didn't say really anything, but he had shirts about LeBron's opinions about his mother, about Delonte West. You can add it up for yourself at home, folks. But it's like there's a. I mean, if you don't like the guy, that's your business. You know what I mean? It's my only opinion with him is. Right now, I wish he was still a Cavalier. I understand. He did his thing. I appreciate it. He's still great to Akron. He's still building with Akron. He doesn't forget. He never forgot where he's from. Even when he was in Miami, he was doing the same thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? I always wish him well, but I'm always going to put my Cavs first. You know what I mean? It's just the way I look at it. Either way, I'm going to be cheering for his son. And I'm going to be cheering for Chris Livingston.
Right.
I might buy a jersey, but even if one of them ends up in Detroit, and you know how much I hate the Pistons. If you don't know how much I hate the Pistons, I hate the Pistons. I've been enjoying this decade of misery. They've been, if I could get that with your Steelers for once, and if I could get that with
might.
I want to jump that far. I mean, your front office tends to know what they're doing. I will admit that. I've enjoyed watching Detroit fall apart. The Tigers after back-to-back World Series losses, just watched them implode. And they had different. They switched ownership. It made a world of difference. I enjoyed watching the Indians beat up on their teams, but it says a lot if one of those Akron kids goes to the Pistons, and I would consider buying a jersey. I really would, just to support the guys. You know what I mean? But it's gonna be interesting down the road. There's still plenty of time to go, and right now the Cavs have a good blueprint.
Yeah,
they just need the rest of the pieces there.
I still think they're a 7th, 8th seed team for the playoffs. I'm gonna stick to it. I still think they are, but I like to see them clean up some things here, especially on this crazy road trip they're going to have here. It's going to be big time. So
they're playing the best team in the East this weekend twice in a row in Cleveland. I found that interesting. That both games are in Cleveland. This whole, and I get it. There's a COVID. There's a virus.
It's the bubble thing they call it.
Yeah. It's screwed up some of the schedule, but it's like we've never had it where a team played away or home back to back against each other. It's always been we're in Milwaukee one night, we're in Cleveland
Mm-hmm.
the next. We're in Philly one night, we're in Cleveland the next. Now it's, hey, Milwaukee, just enjoy your whole weekend in Cleveland.
Pretty much.
I mean, you can't do anything anyway.
Yeah.
Slowly you can now.
Well, I think NBA is smart doing this because they're cutting down the travel.
Yeah, and
So that's going to cut down all the the virus stuff and COVID stuff. And they think came out today. There's been in the whole month of January there was 0 COVID cases in the NBA.
That's good.
So I think NBA is doing something smart compared to what the NFL was. They were all over the map with the COVID and canceling this, and they only played one a week.
I think me and you have talked about this before. Adam Silver has always been on it. He's always had good ideas. He's heard out ideas. He's done his research, he's done information. Where Roger Goodell he's Roger Goodell. He's a god in his own mind. He thinks he knows what he's doing all the time. I've shared the story last week. There was supposed to be somebody joining him in his own personal basis to watch the Super Bowl this weekend. Because he didn't like the person, it's not going to happen. He donated money to charity, by the way, the person that won the contest. However that worked. But, and since we're on that subject, and I got this paper here. MLB Players Union rejects proposal to start delay a season. That was the other thing, is Rob Manfred is afraid to be in the same position as NFL was instead of the same position as NBA was. But now we're looking at a normal Major League Baseball season. They're going to do training camps going to start on the 17th, which will be in about a week, almost a week and a half away. So not quite a week, but about a week and a half away. And I'm looking very forward to that. And they want the norm. And that's the thing is, the proposal actually wasn't that bad. As a fan, you lose more baseball, so it stinks for me. And it stinks for you. It stinks for Bob. It stinks for Indians fans, too. This is their last year as the Indians. But for the players, they're going to get full pay and everything and not lose a dime.
Right.
Just play it short. But they want to play the season, that they deserve. And like you look at last year. Last year it counted. There was a season, but statistically it hurt a lot of players. It really did. Everything was such a mess. So they want their full season. So it's looking like they're going to get. And in my opinion, I understand baseball's hesitation. I understand that because it sounds like they're going to let almost the normal amount of fans come in as of right now. There's nothing official yet. They're still working out the kinks on that one. But they're worried about the shot not coming in enough for the players and the fans. It's like right now things are slowly getting better and better. Why not just ride with it right now? You know what I mean? I don't want to jinx it and say the other way around, so we're not going to go that way. But I understand their concern. It hurt some teams like the St. Louis Cardinals really got hammered by COVID last year. I just say right now, play along with it. You have spring training, see how that goes. I know fans aren't supposed to.
Right.
They said right now some could attend some games. A certain level. Usually they let them come to the practices. They're not allowed to come to the practices. So they're trying to keep it as healthy as possible. But you look at overseas, they're getting ready for regular seasons too, without issue. So why not try it out a bit? I understand the hesitation, but something's got to give at some point. You know what I mean? You have to show some effort back to normalcy. At the same time, make sure everybody's safe. So
hopefully get fans back in for the regular season. Get fans back into the stadiums.
That's what they were talking about.
At least make some little money. Get if it's half the fans or what, at least get some little.
Yeah, well, they have to make some because I was talking to Bob before the show today. Every big free agent move, with the exception of DJ Matthew for the Yankees, because the Yankees have the money, was 1-year deals because they only can afford so much there. So speaking of, let's give you a quick Indians update. There isn't a whole lot, but there's been some good stuff for once. They happened this past week. They were quiet all offseason. They traded Francisco Lindor, Carlos Carrasco. Fans are a little iffy. Now this is what's been done since we last talked. Cesar Hernandez is back. He's at second base. I think we talked about that last time. He's now officially back. They signed, this was a big one, Eddie Rosario will be coming to Cleveland on a 1-year deal and play left field for them. Great ball player, great all around defense, hitting. This is a great guy to put on the top of the lineup. It's probably going to be Hernandez, Rosario, and Ramirez. And Reyes right there will be your top 4 for sure. Which now Rosario locks off the left field spot, which will now ask the question, what happens with center and right field? Bradley Zimmer, Oscar Mercado in the rest of center field. You have Daniel Johnson and Nolan Jones in the mix for right field. They might hold off on Nolan Jones, give him some AAA time. But Daniel Johnson I can see playing right field right now. And then today, before we started, to a minor league deal in spring training camp, Brian Shaw has returned to the team. Best known for the guy that took the loss in Game 7 of the World Series in 2016. Other than that, he was solid for them. Unfortunately, when he left for the Rockies, he signed a 3-year, $27 million deal. Because he was considered a very productive relief pitcher. He had an ERA over 5 his whole time with the Rockies. It's a big home run park out there. That's what people were wondering. It's like, is this guy going to keep the consistency he brought to Colorado? Well, it didn't go so well. He got cut last July. He goes to Seattle. He gave up 12 earned runs in 6 innings pitched. So that's why people are wondering, well, how did he get a deal so cheap? That's why right there. He just hasn't had it. So, but he's back in Cleveland. Francona tends to get the best out of players. He's got Carl Willis, a great pitching coach there. Carl Willis isn't going to be spending his time hitting on female reporters, as we found out about the guy he replaced. So maybe Brian Shaw finds a place on his team again. We'll see. He's got a whole spring training to prove himself. But other than that, for once we get some good Indians news that will hopefully keep this team relevant and competitive. And if you really look at it, I mean, some of the rankings went down when they traded Lindor. They're still a top 10 with Vegas to win the World Series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're in the discussion because that pitching's so good. They do have some. There is some hitting there that could break out and be consistent, and maybe even all-star potential there. But it's one of those things. It's got to happen first.
Right.
You know what I mean? Nothing, especially in baseball, nothing's guaranteed. We see it every year. There's always like one team where like, this team's going to come out on fire, and then they never show up. Or there's one team where, like, this team will need another year, and all of a sudden they're the Tampa Bay Rays representing the American League in the World Series. It's a whole...
Kansas City that 1 year win it, and
they lost it 1 year,
and
then
they lost it, and they won it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was it. Well, I think a lot of fans figured out the year after they lost. It's like, okay, this team's still young. It's still a lot under contract. They just need a little more. And they went and made those trades at trade deadline. And I think that team specifically was a prime example to show how much trade deadline in baseball can make a big difference. And it really did for them. Now, that's a good example right there. Even though I don't care for the Royals, I've had a history of talking smack with a couple of players when they've come in and whatnot. Just nothing over the top serious, but we've exchanged some words. And they're a division rival, the Indians. It was cool to see that city win one for them, you know. And of course now that city has a chance to win another Super Bowl. We'll get to that after our first break there, when we'll get ready to talk some football there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to any baseball season since we have one, a big one. We had one. We had a third of a season. That's what it was, and then playoffs.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. I know that there were some rules that were made, like the DH is not coming back for National League this year. That did come out. They are doing 7-inning doubleheaders. I don't really like that, but it's whatever. They are, for the regular season, bringing back the guy on second in extra innings. Even though I felt iffy about that in the past, if it's just regular season, I'm okay with it going back to the regular rules of the postseason. And one of the Indians broadcasters on the radio brought up one time, when they were doing it, they said, you know what? It was actually kind of both of them. They said, I'm warming up to this idea. They said, I am too. And they said, you don't have to blow your bullpen for the next week. Because one game can do that. One game could set your bullpen back for a whole week. You have scheduling issues, who needs rest, who needs whatnot. But now you put a guy on second, it's more pressure, and there's a better chance of them scoring there. I mean, it stinks for the teams that are pitching really well. It got to that game to extra innings.
Right.
But at the same time, it kind of helps the manager in a weird way. Again, I'm iffy, but it's coming back no matter how I think about it. You know what I mean? So we'll see how that goes.
Another question: what's the minor league doing in like the Rubber Ducks and
the same rules?
Same rules.
Actually, they tested it when I was an intern with Akron. That's when they were doing the regular season, but playoffs they did not put the guy on second. When the playoffs in the championship game.
Are they starting the same time frame as Major League or Indians or?
They always start a little
bit later, but they're going to start on time also?
Yeah, that's from my understanding. And those guys need the support and money too, especially minor league baseball got slammed. Mm-hmm. There was no season for them at all. So that they couldn't get anything rolling with that. And that's the thing is if you are a Columbus Clippers or Akron Rubber Ducks fan, your team has... I don't know who they're going to schedule where now. Because last year I could have told you more like Akron was going to be really good. Yeah. Columbus was going to be solid. And they all always have been. This year, because of what happened last year, I don't know what players are going where. There's a chance that the Akron team I thought we would have last year, it's going to be Columbus this year. Or it's going to be the same. Yeah. Either way, one of those two teams is going to be really, really good. Both of them have a chance to be good. But I meant like one of them is going to be really, really good because they're just going to have so much hitting power right now. And I don't mean like power hitting, but just they're going to have a lineup full of great future stud baseball players there. You have Bo Naylor, Josh Naylor's brother, one of the top prospect catchers in there. You have Tyler Freeman, who's going to be shortstop, second base. There, Arraez, who's the shortstop, the guy the Padres do, who is supposedly the real heir to Lindor. He's going to be in the mix there. Will Benson, first round pick from a few years ago, he's finally moving up past single A there. So there's a couple names on top of my head right now that give you a little taste that there's some fun things on the way for if you're a fan of one of these minor league teams. They're gonna come out and put on a good show. There's some good pitching, obviously too. Danny Espinosa, and a couple others. Again, going by the time starting pitchers, that are gonna come up and play. And so it's going to be, hopefully we'll get a regular minor league season going, and it'll be a fun ride for those guys. And I know all fans are itching to finally get back out there into that hot Ohio sun and see some ball after being inside in their dark houses. And they could have went outside to the pool and whatnot, but there's a big difference between the pool every day and going to a baseball game and whatnot. So we'll just see that's baseball around the corner now. You got going back to basketball. Cavs start they just started 8 minutes ago. There, we'll give you an update after our first break on that one. Ohio State's got a big game tomorrow. They are the 7th seed. They play 8th seed Iowa tomorrow. They've been playing pretty well of late. They did lose to number 24 Purdue, which will give them headaches later down the road too. I mean, they got a tough conference, I should say, this year. The Big Ten's actually really good at basketball. Like usually, you expect Michigan State, and the rest are kind of like hit or miss. This year, it's all over. Wisconsin's good, Purdue's good, Ohio State's good. Both Michigan and Michigan State are good.
Ohio State knock off Michigan State.
Yes, they did. They beat Wisconsin, who's ranked, and they beat Michigan State, who was not ranked, but they're up there. They're still in the.
They're always a tournament team that can.
Izzo's always got a good
go
program
far if they want to.
Exactly. So we'll see about that tomorrow. There, Akron Zips lost to Toledo last night. I think it was 76-91 was the final score. I knew Toledo out of the whole MAC conference was going to give them more fits than probably anybody this year. Right. They're tied with Kent State. They play Kent State in Kent Friday. Game got moved, by the way. Anybody that watched last week's show, we said it was in Akron. It got moved back to Kent State. They play an earlier game about 5 o'clock. And there that they'll try to untie against Kent State.
Right.
We're going down the way, but yeah, we're in February. This is the first 10-cent beer night of the month of February, and this is where a lot of the term will happen. Different kind of February. Again, we don't have NBA All-Star break till March this year, but we'll have NBA All-Star break, trade deadline, NFL free agency, and March Madness wrapped in all one for next month. So we got some good stuff coming up there. In the sports world there. I did see that I wanted to bring this up too real quick while we were talking other sports before we get to talk about the big game this Sunday. Let me pull up. This past November, the Columbus Crew won the championship in the MLS. They're building a new stadium. It's looking great so far. I think the Crew folks will like it. I want to bring up that. I want to get this guy's name. Perry Kitchen. He's from Indianapolis, Indiana. He was with the LA Galaxy. He just signed with the Columbus Crew this past week. He is the third former Akron Zip that played along Caleb Porter that has joined them this offseason. There was not an Akron Zip on that team. They've been signed. They've had a great offseason. I'll be honest, I don't follow MLS as heavily as the other sports. I grew up in a soccer family, but they've had a very good offseason, so they can repeat again for next year. Basically, I think Jimmy Haslam has said, "Here's the keys, you drive." Right. Basically, down there in Columbus, and hopefully he'll say that for the Browns too. Yeah. And I think he will. I honestly think he will. All joking aside, I think that's what's going to happen, and we'll get to the Browns a bit later there. But I know Evan Bush. And there was another one, I'll have to look it up there. Bush is a goalkeeper. They played for the Zips under Caleb Porter there.
That same topic, soccer topic, the Cleveland Crunch is back. The indoor...
Are they really?
Yeah, they're back.
Who
I don't think they played any games yet, but I know they're back. They're practicing. I seen that article on them the other day. They used to be, they're back. So they got their coach that... Their coach now coached for them when they won the championships years ago. He's the head coach for them now. So, what is it? ML Indoor Arena.
I'll pull up the article now from September.
It was.
Let me see.
Someone reposted it or something. I've seen it.
Eric Davis is owning them. They're in Lakewood right now.
Is that where they're at?
Yeah.
So no, they were with the Canton Invaders back in the day, and that.
They were all over the place. It's good to bring them back. We went to about a couple of years ago during the NFL draft. I remember that because the Browns drafted Greedy Williams and Taki that day. They had the 25th anniversary of the Cleveland Crunch first championship. They won more than one.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that at the time. They won 95, 97, 98. I think they won. Was it just those ones? Or is there more? Okay. They won three
that
there.
era, you had the Canton Invaders and them too going back and forth between.
Right.
Canton and Cleveland going back and forth between championships.
Right.
Kind of that era.
But it was a charity event. All the money went in. The former players, most of them, not all of them, but most of them showed up and they played a scrimmage, and it was kind of entertaining to watch. In the facility, Otto Porter, not Porter,
Orff,
excuse me. And he's a family friend of my family too, and I can't remember his name. Otto Orff personally, and he had a couple blunders there, so his age was showing along with some of the other guys. But it was fun. Yeah. It was a fun event. It was a great crowd. A lot of money raised. And what was funny is you're bringing that up, and we're going to end on this until our first break. Is we keep talking about 2016. LeBron James ends the title streak. It was a big day for Cleveland. All the parades and whatnot. There are fans out there, especially indoor soccer fans, that say, no, the streak ended in 95. Yeah, the crunch won. It counts. And then you have those that say, well, and nobody cares about indoor soccer, but hockey's bigger. So the Monsters won a couple days before, so they ended the streak, and it counts. And that's the only reason the Cavs won it all. That's the only reason the Indians went to the World Series. That and it's a stupid debate. I'm thankful for all the championships that we win up in the Cleveland, Akron, Canton area. Even if the Canton Charge were to ever bring the G League championship home to Canton, that'd be great too. So. There you have it. Well, we're wrapping up our first part of the show today. We're going to take a 5-minute break here in about 10 seconds or so. We will be talking about the Super Bowl finally. We're going to be making our predictions and stuff and talk more about big NFL moves that have already happened before the Super Bowl began. So we'll be talking a lot of football coming up. Stay tuned. Give us 5 minutes on 10 Cent Beer Night. PolymerCityRecords.com.
These blues. This morning the blues walked in like a man. All these blues. The blues walked in like a man. Worried blues. Give me your right hand. The blues is a low down and a shaking chill. Yeah, it's preaching now. If you ain't never had 'em, I hope you never will. When I preach these blues, you come on in, take your seat and sit on down. When I preach these blues, you come on in, take your seat and sit on down. And if the Spirit moves you, if the Spirit moves you, and if the Spirit moves you, Lord, if the Spirit moves you, jump straight up and down. Let these blues is a low down and an aching heart disease. Yeah, these blues is a low down and an aching old heart disease. Like consumption, killing me 5 degrees. I can study the rain Oh, I drive my blues away. I've been studying the rain. I'm gonna drive my blues away. Going out to the distillery. Gonna stay out there all day. Up jump the devil.
Welcome back to 10 Cent Beer Night here at PolymerCityRecords.com. I'm Seth,
Chris.
and we are here to talk about the big game this weekend, the Super Bowl. Before we touch on the Super Bowl, people are already talking about the NFL offseason. Since we had such a great season overall, people are interested to see where these teams will go. All the head coaching decisions have been made. Houston Texans were the last team they... I can't think of his name top of my head, but the wide receiver coach of the Ravens is headed down there to be the head coach there.
I don't think there's not a happy camper about that.
That was kind of a very interesting decision.
I don't think Watson was very happy about that. Of course, after they made that decision, he demanded that trade.
Right.
And then the general manager said, no, we're not trading Watson. So kind of little scratchy there in Texas right now, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna trade him or not, but it's kind of hairy there in Texans right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to look.
Watson's not happy at all. He wants out, but their general manager said they're not going to trade him. Don't want to.
David Culley's his name.
Yeah.
So that's who. It was a very surprise hire.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually being interviewed during our last show we were having here, and he left with the job. He got an offer right there and then. That was out of all of them, and I thought the Eagles pick was going to surprise more people. This one I think is more surprising, especially given their current situation, and especially when people were bringing up. They said, the Ravens wide receivers didn't do that great this year,
right?
So there must be something they see in this guy that they think that he's the real deal. He thinks that he can fix this Houston franchise. But again, so now that the coaching search is over, Leslie Frazier, who's been doing a great job in Buffalo, he's going to stay in Buffalo. Eric Bieniemy, he goes another year without getting a head coach job, and a lot of people feel like this guy deserves to be a head coach. So where Josh McDaniels still going to be in New England. So that you got a couple of those are the couple of names that could potentially be a head coach candidate there in the future. Frazier did have a stint in Minnesota. I don't think the front office did him well enough to give him enough support. A lot of players feel he could be a good head coach still. So I guess we'll have to see as far as that goes. I think the one thing I do want to bring up before we talk about the Super Bowl was you keep talking about Watson, and because that's going to be a hot topic until something happens.
Right.
So Coach Campbell comes into Detroit. Stafford decides, I think it was a mutual decision to finally just part. Okay. And this is where I think this affects the Watson trade a lot. He gets traded. He gets traded within 24 more hours till they announce he's available on the trade market. He goes to the Rams, and Detroit gets Jared Goff. Obviously, they need a quarterback out of that, and they got 2 first-round picks and a 3rd-round pick for, again, a 30-some-year-old quarterback. That's a lot. And again, Stafford is good enough. He could take the Rams possibly again to the Super Bowl with the offense they have. But I think the question I have to ask is, the Lions got 2 first-round picks, let alone an experienced quarterback and a 3rd-rounder for their older quarterback. So does Watson go up to a 3 first-round and a 2nd round, or how does that work? Like that's his value just went up in that trade there. What did you think about that trade?
Well, I think it was good for Stafford and kind of bad for Goff, because Goff's going to Detroit. Right. But there's some talent, there's some weapons there in Detroit still, but not as
Galloway's a free agent.
Yeah, free agent. You know, you got so a lot of them. So, but Rams pretty stacked. You know, their offense is pretty stacked. You got what? You got Woods. Nice slot, good third, 2nd wide receiver. I mean, of course, our defense is good.
Cooper,
Ramsey, Donald, yeah. I mean, they got a nice team as it is.
You're sold on their running back situation.
Running backs is very nice. Running backs, yeah. I mean, so with them having a quarterback now, I think can come in and lead the way. Because Goff took them to the Super Bowl. Every time after that Super Bowl, of course, he had to face the Tom Brady and the Patriots, but seems like after he went to that Super Bowl, he just fell down. Of course, he had some injuries in between and all that there too, but he seemed like he wasn't the Goff that led him there.
Right.
So I don't know if Rams were seeing that too.
Right.
Over the last couple of seasons, you know, and but I think it was a good trade. I think Rams are good. I'm going to watch the Rams. I'm going to keep an eye on them, especially for fantasy. I'm going to keep an eye on Stafford for fantasy because he got some weapons in there.
Right. I think especially if they were to find a way to win a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. Hopefully they don't play Cleveland. That's a win for them. I think this trade has potential for a draw too, and let me explain. If Detroit can hit on those 3 picks specifically and Goff can just be good enough, that right there, Detroit's got a big win. A couple thoughts I want to share on Jared Goff too. He's always somewhat reminded me of a better version of Rex Grossman.
Right.
He's more consistent, less turnover prone, but he was just a really good arm.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's a story I want to share now that they have traded him. If you can remember back 2016, was it, when he got drafted? Yes. Because it was Hugh Jackson's first draft with the Browns. I remember that. Corey Coleman. Yeah, that didn't work out. And the Browns traded out. Not trade out of the first one, but they traded down. They were the 2nd pick. And I think the Redskins were the 1st pick. And the Redskins traded. Because it was then Rams and Eagles. And people were like, well, did the Browns screw up here? There was always that talk. Obviously a weak quarterback class. You had Jared Goff, who never blew up during college. It was just somebody he has the pieces to become something special. It was always a maybe, a potentially, you know. Then you had Carson Wentz. We all know that story. Again, if these 2 guys go in the right system, and Detroit could be, for all we know, for Goff's sake, they could make something happen. But these were never the star quarterback. They were never a Trevor Lawrence where you gotta get him, you gotta have him. This guy's gonna come in, he's gonna tear it up. You know, it never was that. It was always, well, they could become something, so you might as well get them while you need a quarterback kind of attitude. And so they go with Goff. We know the story. They go with Goff. Philly goes with Wentz. And again, neither of them really blew up or caught the eye of really anybody, except for some people did felt Wentz was the big deal. But again, he was playing well, but up until he got hurt. Again, we know the story. We fast forward to 2018. Okay, Cleveland Browns are sitting there with the first and fourth overall pick. And the story got up a couple months after the draft. But I don't know if you can remember, but you had reporters and analysts from ESPN, Fox Sports, all that reporting. Rams are looking to trade up in the top 10. Rams are looking to, and nobody knew why. They didn't know who they were targeting. They didn't know if this was a defensive player, whatnot. And they kept calling. They kept making moves. Jets make their moves to trade up to third. And they're still trying to get maybe even the third. They called the Jets, too. Right. They called top 10 teams, and they went harder at the top 5. It came out a few months later. The front office, the scouting department, they're all sitting there together. They're watching film and reading reports on Baker Mayfield. And they said, this guy's the next NFL superstar, in their opinion. We got to go get him. They said, we realize Goff might not be our guy, so we're offering Jared Goff and our first-round pick to trade up in this draft.
That was the draft that Cavs are high on Chubb. Browns were high on Chubb.
Bradley Chubb
were high on him. They went and took Mayfield, right?
They took Mayfield and Denzel Ward.
Denzel Ward, okay, yeah.
And there's been rumors Jets trade up originally for third pick overall for Mayfield too. I recognize those rumors too. But they were my point bringing this up. Okay, we know what happens. They don't trade up. The quarterbacks fall where they go. Maybe if they wanted a quarterback, Lamar Jackson would have been their guy. If not, traded up for Jared Allen, knowing what he was, and they would still found, I think, more success with Baker than they would at Goff, my opinion. But my point is, at that time, they got the first overall pick in Jared Goff. 2 years later, they were ready to pull the plug. And that right there told me that they were questioning their long-term commitment to Jared Goff.
Right.
Now he takes him to the Super Bowl right after that, so it's like, okay, maybe they made the good choice of keeping him around. He plays decent after, like you said, he doesn't live up to. He just wasn't clutch. He just didn't do enough. Is what it was. He's not bad. He's not. He's not this terrible quarterback. He's not turning it over all over the place. He's just not doing it. You don't know if he's not his vision's off. You don't know if
I think that's why they changed their offense up this year. They went to the run first mentality and the pass first, because I think they're seeing little things in golf that they weren't happy with.
Right.
So they try to make it easier for them. Try to make the game easier for them.
Right.
And so at the beginning of the season, they ran 3 running backs.
Right.
I can't remember the last time I seen Rams do that. It's been a while since they come up to a pass first team, but there's a lot of things you see, but it's good. It's crazy. The media loved it. Everybody loved it. It's crazy right before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, especially
draft pick like this, a draft pick trade like this happens.
Yeah, but no, it does. It changes the draft up too, because the Lions were a high pick, and now that pick is going to L.A. And and there's the third or fourth team with 2 first-round picks. Yeah, there's a handful of teams with 2 first-round picks in this draft, so that's going to really. I mean, if the one team that lost in this draft, random fact here, may have been the Cincinnati Bengals, and the reason. Wait, I take that. I made a bad comment. I said that pick was going to L.A. That pick's going to Detroit. Still got their high pick. Okay, yeah, I screwed that up. I said that pick's going to L.A. That pick's not. No, Stafford's going to L.A.
Yeah.
A lower pick is going to Detroit. So I changed that. I'm sorry. I goofed that up. But it does change their strategy.
Right.
Okay? The Bengals may have been sitting there with the top wide receiver still on the board, talking about, we should probably take one of these guys. Now the Lions could be sitting there being like, okay, with our pick, instead of going this direction, we're going wide receiver. Right. And in the past for the Lions, it's hit or miss. Some of them have worked, Calvin Johnson. Some of them haven't worked, Mike Williams. But you got this is a very talented wide receiver class. They might want to at least walk away with one of those top 2 right there. So either Chase or the Heisman kid, however you want to look at it, I think they need to pick up one of them. But this has changed a lot of strategies and whatnot, and for all around the league. So it was very interesting trade. And again, I think you hit the nail on the head. But right before the Super Bowl, too, stealing headlines. That was very interesting there. So every team's got an NFL head coach. I think every team's got a GM now. The offseason will be here right after Sunday. Let's finally talk about Sunday's game. You have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Super Bowl, a lot of people were thinking it was a possibility. A lot of them said it was like an NFL dream this year. However you want to put it. Tom Brady versus Pat Mahomes. It is here. Kansas City wants to defend their title, go back-to-back. Tom Brady wants a 7th ring. He would have more rings than anybody or any team. How does that make you feel? Being a Steelers fan, this is why I'm asking him. Again, Brady tied it with the Patriots.
Yeah.
Most Super Bowl Steelers and Patriots.
If you won this Super Bowl, I probably won't be as mad.
Yeah.
Because he went to a team that he had really no clue. Like, he knew their names.
Right.
But they're like how he would play with them. He had no off-season workouts. He had nothing. So he basically went to just a team where you just kind of say, hey, I'm here, like backyard football.
Yeah.
You show up as a quarterback and pick your team. Basically kind of what he did. So I won't be as mad. If it was a New England winning the Super Bowl, I'd probably be mad.
Yeah.
But now I don't think I'll be as mad if he wins.
Right.
But winning 7, I mean, if you win 7, you win 7. I'm not gonna.
There you go.
It's crazy though. Think
Again,
about it, but
Pat Mahomes bailed you out. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
Second most Super Bowls won. 49ers with 5,
right.
and they were about to win 6 until
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes and then give some credit to Kyle Shanahan for dropping the ball like he's good at doing. I'm just not a fan of Kyle Shanahan. Just give him some credit for goofing another Super Bowl up, But I'm not saying Kansas City didn't deserve it. They absolutely did. They played a very good game.
But kind of fell in the Kansas City mode of last season. They came back a lot.
Yeah.
And so that kind of proved how their season went is Mahomes came back again. That's kind of showed what their kind of season was like all season. They always came back. They were down and came back. So it kind of ended right for them the way they were playing all year.
The comeback kids. Yeah.
So
let's talk about the recent injury report for Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is the recent one. Did not practice Jason Pierre-Paul. They're not sure if he's going to play this Sunday. That's a guy, he's won a couple Super Bowls, if I remember, against Tom Brady. Yeah, how's that work? Now he's with Tom Brady there. Limited in participant Antonio Brown knee. I expect him to play. Levante David hamstring. David is a beast. I expect him to play. He'll fight it out. Jordan Whitehead's shoulder. I forgot he was with them in an episode with the Browns last year. And Antonio Winfield Jr. ankle. They would like both of those safeties.
yeah, that'd be
play.
big if Winfield don't play.
Yeah. Full participated. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. So that's good for Tom Brady right there. For the Kansas City Chiefs, Eric Fisher Achilles. You were telling me he is out for Sunday. He was the first overall pick. The first Mid-American Conference player picked number 1 overall in the NFL out of Central Michigan.
That's big.
Yeah, it is.
That's big.
That is. That was a weaker draft. And the best player in that draft did not get picked till 20-something, 22. That was DeAndre Hopkins. Got picked that draft. But yeah, Eric Fisher was first. And he's had a good career. I won't say not first overall career. But I think for a kid coming out of the MAC, he's done well. You know what I mean?
He's played well with KC, though. He's played well. He's proven that on that line.
He's still there, too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been a few years, so if they wanted to pull him, they could have. But unfortunately, he will not be playing this Sunday. Linebacker Willie Gay, knee and ankle, did not practice. Limited participation. This is where it changes up for the Chiefs. Le'Veon Bell with an ankle. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, ankle and hip. Quarterback Rashard Fenton, foot. Sammy Watkins, calf. Full participant, Patrick Mahomes, toe. I don't remember his toe ever getting hurt, but I guess at the time it did.
Yeah.
Offensive lineman Mike Remmers, groin. Cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, concussion. And then offensive lineman Andrew Wiley, ankle. So that's your update there.
Yeah, so Hilaire, more likely, he's questionable, right? 'Cause that's going to be big if something where he don't. Means Bell by get more reps than if Bell's able to go. And they're going to have to run the ball.
Correct.
KC's going to have to run the ball to beat Tom Brady. Because Mahomes can do all Mahomes things, but they're going to have to get a running game somewhat in place to beat Tom Brady.
And this could be said vice versa, too.
Yeah.
As far as Tom Brady and the Buccaneers go.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting. That's what's going to come down to. You look at the defensive rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay's got a top 10 defense. Kansas City falls short of that top 10. Kansas City, good against the pass. Not so great against, decent against the run. It's not terrible at all.
Yeah.
That's why I wish when they played against the Browns ran it more. And that's why the Bills, that was one of their big weaknesses. They couldn't run the ball. So that hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
So Buccaneers are going to need to run the ball. We know Tom Brady can pass. That's not. It's the same thing with Pat Mahomes. That's not out of question. But
Bucks been running the ball well.
Yes, no matter who it is.
3 games, Fournette came alive.
Yes.
He's played with the Packers game. He played well. He played well versus Saints. He's came alive. He had to come alive more because Jones been banged up. So Jones hasn't been starting as much as he was starting, but not as playing much. So Fournette's been getting a lot more carries, and Fournette's come alive. Ronald Jones is a beast. It's gonna be a battle. I've been kind of thinking back and forth all this, who's what, this and that, lineups, injuries. It's gonna be tough. It's tough to pick because you got the 43-year-old versus 25-year-old. Okay, you got the old man versus young man, whatever you want to call it. The GOAT versus the soon-to-be GOAT. The 10-time Super Bowl appearance guy to 2-time Super Bowl appearance guy. There's so much you can throw out in this game. So much highlights you can push. So much hype up you can push. But can KC do enough to beat Tom Brady? That's the question I've been back and forth all week. Can they do enough to beat Tom Brady? And Tom Brady's clutch when it comes to clutch.
Correct.
I'm hoping for an excellent. I want a high-scoring game. I don't want a low-scoring game. Mm-hmm. I want some big plays. I even want some questionable calls. And I want at least a last-second field goal or a last-second touchdown to seal the game.
Right.
I don't want no low-scoring defensive game. NFL needs a high-scoring game, a hyped-up NFL this year compared to what season we had NFL had this year. And the fans need just a dominant, high-scoring game. Needs it. So I'm not going to roll out Tom Brady. I'm going with Tampa Bay. 38-35. Brady comes in clutch. Brady has a nice drive down to a last-second field goal, and Tampa Bay wins. I battled back and forth all week. Who am I gonna pick? Who am I gonna pick? But if Tampa Bay does enough on defensively, can give Tampa Bay the turnovers like they've done the past last 3 games, and they give Tom Brady a lot of time, I think Tom Brady can pull it out. It's crazy I'm picking Tom Brady. I don't usually root for Tom Brady. I'm not a Michigan fan. I'm saying this. I'm not a Michigan fan, as you can see.
No, he's not. He got that.
Not New England fan. Neither can, it's Steelers guy rooting for Tom Brady, yeah, but...
Are you rooting or just picking him?
I'm picking him.
Okay,
but it'd be the oddest season we had it'd be it's like odd that Tampa Bay's hosting a Super Bowl. It's only been 5 times. There's been Tampa's hosted a Super Bowl in all the years, and they're one of the teams this year. How odd is that? How odd is that? And it goes with all this type of season we've been having, an odd season where there's one game you don't play till 5 days after, and it should have been played on Sunday. There's all this COVID stuff. How odd can you get as Tampa Bay's hosting a Super Bowl?
Right.
And Tom Brady goes to Super Bowl his first year as a quarterback for Tampa Bay. How crazy can that be?
Don't forget, the Browns also went to the playoffs and beat your team too. So add that to the craziness.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
add that to the craziness.
Going to get there, but yeah,
add that. They went 11-5. The Cleveland Browns did. If you want to talk about a crazy season, if you want, and out of all the teams they lost to the damn Jets. You know what I mean? Then it's like, if you want to keep talking about this season, Urban Meyer's with a head. It's now a head. Now I know he didn't coach this year, but he's now with an NFL team. I'm trying to. Bill Belichick did not go to the playoffs. No. You know what I mean? It's been interesting.
But yeah, I'm rolling with Tampa Bay, 38-35. I think Tampa Bay's defense just does enough to give Tom Brady that extra time to pull the game out. So
your last pick of the 2020 season. There you go. So now it's time to put my 2 cents into it. So I'm looking through this too, like you are as a fan. I have nothing against either team. I mean, with in your case, your team owned the most Super Bowls for a while. Because of Tom Brady, there's a tie. As far as individual players, he will be the first one with more than anybody.
Right.
And you still will have that tie as teams because he's not with the Patriots, obviously. All right, and I'm looking at the Chiefs and where they stand, and I look at because you hear that saying defense wins championships. I still believe that to this day. I really do. I honestly do. So the question came to, let's go back to last year's Super Bowl, the only Super Bowl Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs have played. Chiefs have had other Super Bowls, but just recently. You know what I mean? Andy Reid's been there on the stage before, and he lost to Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Okay. You look at last year's team, okay, so the San Francisco 49ers had basically the best defense in the league last year. So how do they not win it? Well, you break it down, and first of all, Kansas City, again, they fought, they earned it, they came back like you said. On top of it, I will say, for the second time in his career, Kyle Shanahan did not run the clock right. He had the game on his lap, and he played his cards wrong. I'm not saying Kansas City didn't earn it. They did. But Kyle Shanahan dropped the ball. And when was the second time, if anybody's wondering? When against Tom Brady in the New England Patriots when he was with the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, Dan Quinn, more of a defensive guy. His offensive coordinator, Kyle Shanahan, who ditched the Browns, if you can remember that story, to join that team. Okay, Shanahan had that team helped him get his head coach job. Right. And I'm not saying Shanahan's not head coach material. I was a big fan of his dad. He knows a lot about the game. He's proven his point to this time. They're up by a lot. The game, remember, everybody thought the game was over at halftime. They thought this was going to be the biggest beating of Tom Brady's career on the spotlight. And then Brady comes back, and you know the story. But what set up that comeback? Okay, one of the things you hear from great offensive coaches, even it comes to the Steelers don't have an O coordinator yet, but in the past they've used this strategy. In the past, Sean Payton has used this strategy, and Kevin Stefanski's trying to put it in Cleveland now. Manage the clock, run the ball, pass, mix it up. Matt Ryan, incomplete pass, turnover, punt, give the ball back to Tom Brady, and it was a bad continuing pattern that led to the Patriots winning that. Last year, they gave Mahomes the ball too many times. It wasn't necessarily that same pattern, but just things were not clear. And part of me also thinks, too, in the spotlight, give me Mahomes over Garoppolo any day. Garoppolo, I'm just saying, Garoppolo kind of reminds me of a Jared Goff type player. I'll say it.
Right.
He's not bad. He's not great either. He won't turn the ball over often, but he's not going to do much with it. You know what I mean? He's just there. Like, it's just, so... But that was all relevant because it's like, okay, how did Mahomes handle that 1-0 in the Super Bowl? So then I look at Brady's other Super Bowls. Brady's been dominating since I started watching football. Okay, the first Super Bowl I paid attention to, the first one my prediction was wrong. I said the Rams and Kurt Warner are going to beat down the Patriots because who are the Patriots anyway? Little Seth said that. Like when I'm talking 10, 11 years old, maybe 12, somewhere, whatever. And well, Tom Brady won. Adam Vinatieri last second field goal.
Yeah.
We all remember the story. And it's been so long. Some of those wide receivers are up for the Hall of Fame this year. Which will be announced, I guess, Sunday. So that'll be interesting. But then I looked at, because I've cheered against Tom Brady before. What the Super Bowls he lost? Why did he lose? Okay, the Giants twice. Giants had top-notch defense. The Eagles and Nick Foles. Nick Foles did what he had to do. That Eagles defense was good too. They were very good. I look at the ones and I'm not saying Tom Brady didn't deserve any he won for the record. Okay, when he beat Carolina, when he beat the Rams. Okay, Carolina had solid defense that year. I won't say it was top notch, but it was good. That's what kind of got him there. Okay, Rams, they were more of an offensive team. Okay, you look at when he beat Atlanta, again, more of an offensive team. You look at when he beat I brought up the Eagles. Let's see, there's 4. I'm missing a couple. Which ones am I missing here? He beat Seattle. Gave him the ball. Seattle had a great defense. That Seattle killed themselves in that one. Not saying again Tom Brady didn't deserve it. I'm saying Seattle was at the goal line. They should have ran it. They should have ran it. And there was one more. Oh yeah, the Rams. Okay, that was a defensive team. That was one of the high defensive teams he beat in the Super Bowl. As far as rankings and total team, defense was heavy on the Rams side, and that was a good game within itself. So I'm looking at this game, and I'm like, I know what Tom Brady can do. I know what Pat Mahomes can do. We looked at the injury report. What weapons are they have? What are they not? It's looking like Mahomes' running back situation is kind of iffy right now. His wide receivers are going to be there. Yeah. Tom Brady's wide receivers are banged up, but they're going to be there. They're going to fight hard. His running backs have stepped up in the game. Now I want to look at the defensive side of the ball. Buccaneers defense, it's not perfect, but it's been top 10. I love their linebacker unit. I think they're one of the best in the league. It's disgusting how talented their linebacker unit is. Right. So they got a top 10 defense sitting there, and they can come out in the clutch, okay? And I look at the Chiefs, all right? Defense is good. It's not great. They fell short of the top 10. Again, it doesn't, at the end of the day, as long as you win, it doesn't matter how you win, okay? Against the run, so we've discussed that. Against the pass, they're actually pretty good. But again, this is Tom Brady. Packers forced 3 interceptions and still lose the game 2 weeks ago. All right. So I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the situation. Again, there's always a debate. If he wins or loses, does he retire? Does he retire when he wins a league leading 7th? Does he retire when he loses because he's like Pat Mahomes now carries the torch, you know? I'm looking at this. I'm thinking, I go with the saying, defense wins championships. 31-24, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are winning this at home. A rare opportunity to like you said, to have a home game in the Super Bowl. And it just, I think it matches up well for Tampa Bay to win the Super Bowl. And I'm not going to say here, I'm not saying the Chiefs are over it, because I want to, like, probably people are sitting there like, oh, if what other AFC team would have matched up well here? Looking at, I'm not going to say Cleveland, because there's people that say, well, if they would have called that hit, we may have been in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady would have tore us apart. The defense isn't ready. We're almost there. The defense needs touched up big time before we can talk about the Browns in the Super Bowl, okay? The Bills defensively, yes, would have matched up well there. Right. But again, against that defense, they need to run the ball, like you were saying. The oddly enough, I don't like them. You don't like them. The Ravens, they could put up a good game.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they could run it. Passing, that's a different story. I mean, he can throw it, but defensively, it would have hung in there. The Chiefs are more heavily offense. They could still win this game.
Oh yeah,
they could.
Yeah, they could.
Andy Reid is a great coach with a lot of tricks up his sleeve.
I mean, catch Hill with a nice little out pass slant, gone. He could be gone for 80 yards real quick.
Exactly.
Kelsey. They got their KC's offense is firepower offense. But they're going to have to run the ball a little better this game, I think.
And that's the thing I want you to get is I'm sold on Tampa Bay's defense, but they're not perfect either.
Right.
They had their issues. It's going to come down to the Buccaneers continue to move the ball, which we know Tom Brady can. But you got to remember, he's also lost 3 Super Bowls because he didn't move the ball well enough. It's just going to come down to what defense shows up. Because we know Mahomes and Brady are going to show up. That's without a doubt. This isn't the Peyton Manning last Super Bowl where we knew he's banged up. Is he going to be able to be old Peyton Manning? And he did enough. That defense won. You want to talk about a defense that won a Super Bowl? That was it right there, Denver, in that one. Because Manning, he didn't play bad, but he wasn't old Peyton Manning. He just did enough to win it. That's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to what defense is going to show up. We have to take our final break. If you didn't catch it, we both have picked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win the Super Bowl. We'll talk about that and more, and a Cavs update, too, along with all that. So stay tuned. Give us 5 minutes.
These blues. This morning the blues walked in like a man. All these blues. The blues walked in like a man. Worried blues. Give me your right hand. The blues is a low down and a shaking chill. Yes, preach it now. If you ain't never had 'em, I hope you never will. When I preach these blues, you come on in, take your seat and sit on down. When I preach these blues, you come on in, take your seat and sit on down. And if the spirit moves you, if the spirit moves ya. And if the spirit moves ya, Lord, if the spirit moves ya, jump straight up and down. Ah, let these blues is a low down and an aching heart disease. Yeah, these blues is a low down and an aching old heart disease. Like consumption, killing me by degrees. I can study the rain, oh, I drive my blues away. I've been studying the rain, I'm gonna drive my blues away. Going out to the distillery, gonna stay out there all day. Up jump the devil.
Welcome back to the last half hour of 10 Cent Beer Night today. Our first one of February 2021. I'm Seth.
Chris.
And we were just talking about our Super Bowl picks. We both have picked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a close one. I think what both of us said about 7. You said 3 points,
yeah.
and I said 7 there, so that's how we felt there. And again, it's going to be a great Super Bowl. It really is. It'll be one for to remember. Gave you a Cavaliers update. They're down 48-47 with a minute to go in the second quarter. They were just up 47-42 before we jumped on. So, and, basketball, it changes up quick there. For leading scorers going to almost halftime for the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard, 14 points, 2 rebounds. Paul George, 12 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. And Serge Ibaka, 5 points, 2 rebounds and assists. For the Cavaliers, 16 points and 2 assists, Colin Sexton. 14 points, 1 rebound, Darius Garland. 7 points, 2 assists, and 2 rebounds, Andre Drummond. Yeah, you read that right. Only 2 rebounds for Andre Drummond.
He's averaging what? He's averaging what? How many's averaging?
I'm pulling that up right.
10 or so or something. He's averaging a lot of game now.
Yeah, I thought it would give it to me right. Oh no, I don't want
Yeah.
to.
But he usually averages a lot a game. That's pretty low for him right now, though. Yeah, it's kind of still early, but still.
15.1.
Yeah.
15.1.
Yes,
Points per game, 18.5. So, yeah.
So it sounds like they're getting beat on the boards. What's not a good thing.
Or they're all hitting their shots, because again, with the Clippers,
Or hitting their shots,
their rebound leader is Jackson, the point guard, with 4. I mean, it's looking like now Jarrett Allen leads the Cavs with 6. Dalen Windler's played a little bit. A guy that's played a lot for the Cavs recently, Lamar Stevens, has been getting a lot. McGee has not played yet today. Nance Jr. is out. So we'll see. 20 seconds left. They're down 50-49. So this game's close right now. It's closer. It's hanging in, and it looks like it'll be close to after we're done with the show here tonight. Again, they're just hanging in there, trying to stay relevant, get some attention their way. I know that's what JB Bickerstaff wants. So just right now they're just trying to play their game and get that spunk back because again the past week they haven't really had it. They go from beating the Nets to beating their chest to just playing so losing to the Knicks, losing to the Lakers. Most of those games pretty close, and they should not. I think the one I'm more mad about, I understand losing to a team like the Lakers and whatnot, is losing to the Timberwolves on Sunday night when they had they just played so sloppy near the end. That was one of the games I actually got to sit down and watch, and I was just like,
turnover after turnover, and not hitting open shots, bricking shots, missing layups. I mean, a couple of them missing layups. I mean, just little things that you don't want to happen.
Right.
These are teams that they got to beat, even though they're young. Cavs are young, but they still got to beat teams that they have to beat.
Officially halftime 52-49 they're down, so they're only down by 3 there. Interesting comments made by Isaac Okoro before the game. I was reading there. He compared his game to Kawhi Leonard, and he thought he should have been the first overall pick. It's like it's kind of a hard case after the year Edwards had and the others. Yeah. You know what I mean? And Okoro being he was a smokescreen pick. He was one of those where the people thought the Cavs were definitely going one way or the other, and then it came closer down to draft time. His name came up a lot, and so finally when their pick came, that's who they picked with Okoro. So we'll see, but I mean, like, Okoro's got a long way to go before we talk about Kawhi Leonard. Mm-hmm. I mean, I did hear a lot of comparisons from his old coach of Andre Iguodala, but even so, it's going to take a bit because Okoro, very tough player, but undersized for small forward. Right. But he can hang it. He hung on to LeBron pretty well there for a while there too, from what we were observing there.
That was a tough matchup for him too.
That was
a rookie had to guard LeBron, but
he
did well. Yeah,
he embraced the opportunity. Yeah. He really did. So we'll see what happens. How this game goes. Again, Colin Sexton leading them by 16 points now. Darius Garland 14.
That's about kind of a little bit 16-14 for them right now. This the time of the game. So. They're kind of on track with the point-wise, them two, though.
Right.
Seemed like
not a lot of assists, though, so it makes me wonder how they're moving the ball. Right. Because, like you were saying, they need to move, swing the ball, get those guys wide open there. I'll be also interested. I didn't see much in the way of Chetty Osman's name, and he's been playing very well of late.
He's been hitting big shots.
He's played already better than last year in my opinion. Last year was kind of after he got the contract extension, he kind of disappeared. Let me see. Osman's only got 2 points. He's played 10 minutes so far, so he must not have it. Or the other guys.
He must not be in a rhythm or what going on in the night.
The other Okoro's only got 2. Prince has got none. Allen Stevens have 4 each. Windler's got 4 rebounds at 9 minutes. He doesn't have a point though. So there you go. Little bits. It'll be interesting. What I would like to see this team before trade deadline, because they're talking about they don't know what direction. And I think that's messing with the team's chemistry too. Is they know in the back of their heads their acquisition of Jared Allen has set up a potential trade for Andre Drummond. Even though I think inside the Cavs want to keep both. I do. I honestly do. I think, but at the same time, Colin Sexton's going to want a contract extension coming up soon too. So it's really limited their options, and I do think that Love has been in trade talk, but a lot of GMs question his passion for the game right now. He's always hurt too.
Right.
It's really hurting their chances for a trade. But again, you never know. Like you look at that James Harden trade that came out of nowhere. Like it was expected to happen. He was not being very good to the city, to the front office, and everything. So they have to. Well, we got to trade him. Who's going to take him? And what's the best we can get out of him? And they walked away pretty solid because the Rockets. Now without him, they don't look bad.
Yeah.
They really don't. With the John Wall, the Marcus Cousins duo that people of Kentucky fans have been waiting to see for years in the NBA level. Cousins finally playing back and
finally
slowly getting to his old
finally
self
somewhat
too.
healthy.
Right.
Kind of get back to his old self.
With Oladipo in the mix too, it's been really like they're playing as a team. Is what it's coming down to. Where you look at Harden, he's doing well with the Nets right now, but now he's got no choice but to prove himself. You look at the Wizards, Russell Westbrook, he's been on and off hurt. He's played really well, but again, he's playing like old Russell Westbrook. Let me carry the team. Basically, the Carmelo Anthony. Like, let me take over, make the highlight reels. We'll win, maybe. You know, kind of like that. Like, I'll put up my points and whatnot, my statistics. Where that was the key with this Cavs and the core they're trying to make is they want to play as an overall team because that's how you win games, in championships even. But you look at where do they fit going into a month from now? I should say fit. What could they do? I say let it ride. You have, again, with a lot of the NBA, a lot of them aren't that big. Some of those teams, so you have an opportunity to take over underneath the basket, especially win love. Because I want to see before they make any kind of trade between now and the trade deadline. Obviously, I want them to see about extending Drummond, seeing if they could keep him, whatnot. I want to see this whole team together before there's a trade.
Right.
See, because if it comes down to a situation where like the one thing fans don't want to see but could happen, it could be good for them if they say, look, it looks like we're not going to re-sign Drummond. It looks like we're not going to get much for him. Let's ride it out. Let's see if we can take him to the playoffs. Use him in the playoffs. Use him, Allen, McGee, and Love, and let the younger guys improve, and we give them an early taste of the playoffs. Maybe get past the first round. Maybe depends who they play, and just ride it and see what happens. Because then that money's going to open up. They could trade Love for whatever in the summer. I know that's been said multiple times, but I think it was specifically hasn't been done yet. But I think now that Nance Jr. has embraced a starting role consistently, they can kind of see maybe it's time to bump him up there, and then get something else. Maybe in the draft or something, get another power forward somewhere. Prince is under contract for next year. That's another guy they can plug in there. They got options, and I want to see them succeed, especially when they're giving the fans a taste of really promising stuff. I don't think this is a fluke. I think that they got some talented players that are playing well, that can hang in there with the other NBA stars and whatnot. I mean, you look at Dwayne Wade just complimenting away on Colin Sexton, telling him that he is the real deal there. That says a lot within itself. LeBron James also like Colin Sexton. He liked Darius Garland. Lakers were looking at Garland before they traded the pick for Anthony Davis. So we got players that great players also like.
Oh yeah,
and that
LeBron even said he keeps an eye on a few little players on the Cavs and sees how they're doing. He keeps up on them, and so LeBron's watching, everybody else is watching.
Right.
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 That's the way I look at it.
Right. I think Altman's done a great job. People could get on him with the whole Porter thing. That was a crapshoot. It was either going to work out or it wasn't. And I liked it at the time, and I understand completely why moving on from him. I mean, there's a standard that's got to be met, and if they're not meeting that standard, there's nothing. Especially when you've gone all out, there's not much more you can do after that. I think he's done a good job. I think JB's the coach to have.
JB's the right guy.
I was reading because people were probably wondering what happened to John Beeline in his short stint. He's still technically with the front office, but he actually took up a coaching class to teach at University of Michigan. So he's technically back there, but he's also technically still back with the Cavs. Because they got to pay him. They had that guaranteed money into him, and that was that was at the time it sounded like a sexy move in a way, but I see why it didn't work. I mean, you're bringing in a guy too old school, too college like that. It really just frustrated some of the veteran players.
That don't fly in the NBA.
No, it don't.
Now these guys are making millions. I mean, you don't run it like. You can't run a team like a disciplined team like you do in college or high school level.
Correct.
You can't tell these guys run a full sprint. They'll laugh at you. You know, or run suicides because you did something wrong. You can't do that in the NBA. Just the way it is. You guys get paid millions of dollars.
Well, and I think
that's kind of how he was running the Cavs, though. He was kind of running like that, like a boot camp type of team, and you can't do that.
Well, and the other complaint I heard, and this was mainly where Kevin Love had a big issue with the team, and that's where you heard a lot of the more trade rumors last year, was here's a guy, a veteran, he knows the league, he knows how it's run, he's won a championship, he knows how it's run. This guy came in, and he felt like he was freshman at UCLA all over again, like, you got to learn this, you got to learn that. We know this, we know that. This is what we got to work on. This, and they were just not on the same page, and Beeline refused, because what Beeline's done has worked, you know. This is a guy who's turned every team he worked in, except for now the Cavs, into a winner. He did. High school to like low division college to Michigan, and even before, I think it was Richmond University or whatever. I forget. I'd have to look back up his career. But everywhere he went, he turned them into a winner. So they were hoping, all right, time to bump him up to the next level, bring him in, you know, whatnot. And I do remember when, I think it was Brian Windhorst, made the report that said there was a top-tier college coach talking to an NBA team and a move that could surprise everybody. And he said, all I'll say is it might be the Cleveland. And I didn't think it was John Beeline at first. Everybody's
Coach
thinking,
K.
People were thinking Coach K. Izzo probably.
Izzo.
It's because of the Michigan State connection with Gilbert, and it almost happened before. Another guy I thought was he's leaving my mind.
Kentucky's coach.
No, there was him at the time. There
was
him at the time. There was another college. I can't even think of who it was. But anyway, it didn't happen. And then when it came out with John Beeline, it was like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
I know.
I guess we'll go. I guess we'll go that direction there. But it is that's what. But they did the smart move. That's why they hired J.B. Bickerstaff, made him another high-paid assistant, because they're like, this doesn't work out. We have this guy that's going to help him. And that was the same attitude with when they brought David Blatt, who I will say is a good coach and deserves another head coach job in the NBA. When he signed on with the Cavs, he had no idea LeBron James and Kevin Love were coming. He thought it was Kyrie, Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett. He was going, and Gordon Hayward was on the table too. That was in the plans, and that was if LeBron didn't come back.
Right.
And he thought he was going to have this young, fast offense to run and move. Well, then LeBron comes in, and it's a whole different story. So when Blatt eventually goes, he was probably the best NBA record fire, in the history of the game. And then Ty Lue comes in. That's why they paid Ty Lue that top tier, because they were looking at Ty Lue. They liked him, but they were like, we really like the guy. We really like bringing David into all this. He's overseas again. Yeah. I know there were some teams, Knicks and Kings, had talked to him in the past. I did like David Blatt a lot. I thought that he wasn't the appropriate coach for that situation, but he came in to a different situation. And it's like Beeline. If Beeline ended up on a MAC school or what, he wouldn't. Yeah. He's got a record enough where he stays in the higher ranks. But I'm just saying, hypothetically, that would be a big deal there. That would still be. I had a friend, and this stuff changed to football a sec, and we were talking about Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson Day that was this past few days today, 131. That's Hugh Jackson Day for Browns fans. In case you don't know, this the January 31st.
Yeah.
And we talked about that. We don't think Hugh Jackson would have been a terrible coach everywhere. He just wasn't an NFL head coach.
Right.
And I brought up, and I think I brought this up about a week ago or so, when USC fired their head coach, the guy that's now with Tennessee. Okay, he was with Alabama for the drinking issue. Yeah. They brought in an interim head coach. They kept him. Okay. But they were debating before he came in and did work, if we don't keep this interim, we're going to target Hugh Jackson of the Bengals. There's a connection there, okay? And I said, you know what? I'm going to say it, and I still feel this to this day. if Hugh Jackson were to take over a college program, he would have way more success. I know you get those coaches like Lane Kiffin, who they don't do so hot in the NFL, they don't do so hot in college, so where the hell do they go, you know? And then you get some of those coaches in the NFL move to college, and it works out. And I think with Hugh Jackson, personally, I think he could have built a good, solid program. And I had a friend that turned and said, you know, if he went to Akron, I would have more hope for Akron. I would go to more games if Hugh Jackson took over the, you know. And I love Akron's coach right now. He just needs more time to put in his program. But if we were just say if Hugh Jackson went to the University of Akron, we wouldn't be mad being Browns fans that had to deal with him before, because we say this is different. We think he can bring more to the table than he did with Cleveland.
Right.
In a better positive. And it's up for debate, but it's just some of those do not work. You look at Larry Brown with the Pistons and how that did work out. He was a college winning coach, goes to the Pistons. But again, they also built that. If you remember that Pistons team, it was a great starting five and a great bench. Like, that was depth.
Right.
You know, that's why that Pistons and Spurs matchup made so much sense at the time, because you talked about two teams that just up and down that roster was just great.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the similar thing what the Cavs are trying to make too, is they want all around. And it works to this day. It really does. People keep talking about the whole Big Three debate. It's slowly dying. I mean, it depends who you get. All right, the Celtics got Kevin Garnett in his prime. That was a big deal around Pierce and Ray Allen. Pierce was there before. He couldn't do much. You have LeBron in the Heat. Okay, Bosh was solid at times, especially that first championship they lost. Bosh was the best player they had in that championship. Okay, you look back at the statistics. I'm not joking. Look at the film and the statistics. He was. Because people will be like, what? No, that first championship. Yeah. So Stevenson slowed LeBron down. Bosh was everywhere. Like, he was good. But after that, you know, Bosh played solid. Dwayne Wade's Dwayne Wade. You had LeBron, so that made sense. Eventually, though, because of cap and everything, they were limited what they could do and add to it. You look at the Big Three in Cleveland with Kevin Love. You know, Kyrie couldn't carry the team, but he was still there. Yeah, Kevin Love, that takes you to the next level there. And then, LeBron James. You know, you look at the Big Three in the Nets, and it's kind of all over the place. It has potential. They still have holes everywhere else, and that's the problem they're seeing with this Big Three stuff. And we saw in Cleveland, you're wrapped up in 3 big contracts. You're limited with money moves. You spread it out, and you can, like, I will say, let's talk about championships that were lost by Big Three teams. Mavericks beat the Heat. Mavericks were all around starting 5, bench, up and down. We're a great team. That's how they beat them. They had enough depth. You look at the Warriors. I'm going to say like that first 15 and 16 Warrior team was very good. It was not a fluke. Starting 5 in that bench were just right there. It was.
Well, here's a problem with Nets Big Three. I watched him last night. They poured it out against the Clippers, which they almost blew another game. Is they have 3 guys that love to shoot. You got KD, you got Irving, and you got Harden. They both love to shoot, and them 3 are not very pass happy.
Right.
So if you look at Cavs, Big Three, Love, Irving, and LeBron. LeBron passes the ball, Love will pass the ball, and Irving will shoot. Irving was a shooter then. Think about it, Think about how this went. So, Nets Big Three, you don't have them 3 like to give up the ball much. They both love to shoot. All 3 want to be in that spotlight. So that's what I think is kind of hurting a little bit with that. Yeah, they're coming along. They're playing a little better. And then they don't play defense. That's another thing with the horrible. That's defense. It's horrible.
Right, where you saw LeBron play defense. Kyrie overall at the day.
Yeah, Kyrie's playing good ball though. Yeah. Since he's coming back from his
his
issue, he's playing well. Kyrie's playing well.
Harden's getting triple doubles everywhere because he's always passing Durant and Irving in the shot. Cavs down by 10, 59-49. Clippers start out with a 7-0 run in the third quarter, so they got to step that up right there. I mean, that's going to happen. They don't want to lose to the Cavs, and the Cavs want to beat the bigger team there. It's a good point you bring up, and that's the other thing I want to bring up is I was talking about the team as a full. what made that Celtics Big Three special is they always talk about Big Three, this and that. Young Rondo at the time, they had Perkins, they had Glenn Davis, they had some key role players that came out and they showed up when it was time.
Right.
You know, and that made a world of difference down that and that's where you saw them go up against the Lakers, championship winner, lose. They did both, but at the same time they had enough depth where, and then you look at teams like the Spurs that beat the Miami, overall 5 and a great bench. They beat them twice? Was it? Let's know. LeBron
no, once. LeBron got on back the following year, I think. Did they go back to back with the Spurs?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Miami lost to Dallas and San Antonio,
yeah.
but they beat Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Yeah, back to back there. Yes. So we got that straightened out there, but my point being is that's when I want to see the Cavs kind of build there is an overall, because it's just better success. There's all kinds of stories in the NBA about that. I mean, the Big Three, it's flashy, but Jordan and the Bulls, like that was overall still starting 5.
Right.
Like it wasn't just Rodman and Pippen. Like you had your superstar teams, but you just look at what Magic Johnson had to work with. You know, all those teams there, and then again I brought up that Pistons team in the early 2000s. And how they took out the Lakers, how they were a great match against the Spurs, and everything. They were just overall a tough team. When somebody needed to sit, you had a good player up next, you know, and that's the way it should be. And I don't think it's dead at all. I think you look at the top NBA teams. Bucks are another one you could talk about. It's just they don't have enough. I think firepower. They have a great young role players, but they just do not have that. They don't have I think Giannis needs a sidekick, and he doesn't really have it there. You know what I mean? A sidekick's always relevant. You would look at teams that are good, but not as good as look at Portland and Lillard and McCollum combo, and it tends to work out when and I think that will get better too. And they're trying to figure out the kinks with the rest of that team too. But again, they're locked up in some big contracts too there. That's it there. What I get 61-49 right now. I guess when I'm getting reports from the outsiders, they've missed 5 floaters over and again against that wide open shots.
Wide open shots, yeah.
Yeah, so you
that's kind of been the trend these last couple of games.
Right.
That and the turnovers. Yeah, it's kind of been the trend.
They need to hit those shots. I mean, if they hit those shots, they're tied now. They're down by 10. If they hit those shots, they're tied there. So I mean, they'll figure it out eventually. It's gonna be a work.
They got that tough couple games here. I mean, with Milwaukee back to back. They want Phoenix.
Yeah, this one's not done either.
I'm just saying. But after this, they got
Phoenix, Actually, I can pull that up real quick if you want. Their next couple, at least let's do it till at least the next 10-cent beer night. They got the Clippers tonight. They're down by 10. They got Friday and Saturday in Cleveland against the Bucks. They play Monday against the Suns. They play Wednesday against the Nuggets. Now they had the Nuggets. They had the Nuggets number last year. They swept the Nuggets last year. So there's time. Going beyond that, finishing the road trip, we'll go on. That Friday they play the Trail Blazers. No C.J. McCollum though, he's been hurt. So that'll help. But they play the Clippers again. Then that Sunday on Valentine's Day. Then the following Monday they play the Warriors, and then they're back home against the Spurs on Wednesday. And then the West Coast more comes to Cleveland.
Right.
But yeah, that's a tough stretch of game. I mean, you got winning teams, 3, 4. There's not a losing team on that road trip. There isn't. So it's put up or shut up time.
Right.
And that's what they'll need to do here. Before we only got a couple minutes left. Any final thoughts on the Super Bowl you want to share at all?
I just hope it's a good game, exciting game. You're into it the whole time. Like I said earlier, I hope it's close. I hope it's high scoring. I hope it's a controversy call where social media gets blown up all about.
Yeah.
Of course, it might come with Brady. You know how he's always in them controversy calls, and a last second field goal or a last second touchdown. So I'm gonna go for that winning drive.
There
Make
you
it
go.
exciting.
Yeah, give us something to watch. It's been a great season, I will say that, and I'm glad they had a season. I know there was talk about how to handle it and whatnot, and I'm glad, I think the only thing I feel for is any fans. I mean, there's not going to be a ton at that game. There's going to be a lot of first responders, rightfully so, given the situation, and a lot of people in the medical field that got tickets to that. Other than that, give them a great show, I would say. I wish Tampa Bay and Kansas City both the best of luck. Tampa Bay's at home, so that's a big deal.
Fans deserve a good show.
Yeah, they do. They really do. I mean, the halftime show is going to be whatever. I don't give a damn about the weekend. Whatnot. Nothing against it. It's just not
I do. I like the weekends.
You like the week. Yeah. He's talking about the days. That sounded like a Bob joke. That was stupid. But
yeah.
Other than that, no, it should be a good game. Thank you guys for watching. Seriously, 10 Cent Beer Night every Wednesday here at PolymerCityRecords.com, 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I don't know if we'll have Chris next week or not. We'll see, because usually he's our football guy. I mean, we've talked a lot of basketball, so he knows a lot of other stuff, but we'll mix it. We'll change it, but we appreciate you coming this football season at least.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I mean, we'll have him for sure for the draft. I mean, that's how maybe when NFL free agency beefs up too, we can talk a lot about that. We'll play it by ear. We don't know who we'll have. We could have Bob. We could have a dinosaur. We could have anything else. So there you go. I'm Seth.
I'm Chris.
And go Cavs. This is 10 Cent Beer, and I have a good one.
Walsh University.